I am so glad you're here. I have been working so hard to find the perfect white cake recipe. White scratch cakes can be really tricky. I don't know if I'm the only one that's experienced that. I tried so many recipes. Thomas Edison's famous quote about failure is, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." So, after many tests and many failures, I learned what doesn't work and I turned it into a recipe that does work. Today, we're making a light, airy, fluffy, beautiful vanilla cake, and I can't wait to get started. The recipe is in the description below. Print that out and you can follow along. Let's get busy. Our cake takes 9 ingredients. We'll prep it all at one time. Ideally, you want your ingredients to sit out between an hour and 2 hours because we want the dairy especially to be at room temperature before we start making our cake. First, you need a half of a cup of butter. This is 1 stick. It's 113 grams. Cube it. We'll be adding this into the dry ingredients when we get to that phase, and it incorporates much easier into the dry ingredients when it's in little bits as opposed to one big lump. Just put that aside. Next, pour 1 cup of buttermilk. This is 240 milliliters, and the acid in this beautiful little ingredient will activate the leavener that we're putting in, and it also inhibits the gluten from forming in the flour. Now you need 6 large egg whites. You can save your yolks for some other amazing recipe. Put those aside. You need 6 egg whites, but I will say this, a scale is your friend at this point. This is actually 6 egg whites. However, the last time I made this recipe, I needed 7 eggs. The measurement is 180 grams, and you want to make sure that you're measuring them. If you don't have a scale, I would encourage you to buy one. This is really important for the texture of your cake. This is providing the structure, and if we don't have enough egg white, it's going to affect the overall texture of the cake. Next, you need a 1/4 cup of oil, 60 milliliters. And I actually have this at room temperature too. Sometimes I keep my oil in the refrigerator because it can get rancid. So if you keep your oil in the fridge, just get it out and let it come to room temperature as well. Our fat in our cake will be the best of both worlds, butter and oil. Butter solidifies when it cools, and this oil will keep the cake just really nice and tender. And now for our flavoring. This is the only flavoring for the whole bake, so you want to make sure you make a good decision. I am using LorAnn's vanilla bean paste. This is made with Madagascar vanilla beans, and the seeds from the beans are right in here. This is a great way to amp up the flavor. So I'm going to put 1 tablespoon in, that's 15 milliliters, and that is the equivalent of 1 vanilla bean. If you look closely, you can actually see the seeds from the beans in here. It's beautiful stuff. Put this directly into your buttermilk. That will give those flavors a chance to just blend together while they're sitting there. If you are using an extract, I would say just make sure you choose a really good quality one because you want your cake to taste really good. Give that a stir, and it is ready to go when we are ready for it. If you want to pick some of this up, I have a link in the description below for this, and also LorAnn has provided a discount code for you, my baker friends. This is a great place for a scale. We're starting our dry ingredients, and the first thing that I'm going to do is flour. I will be sifting my flour right into a bowl. We're using cake flour. I'm using Swan's Down. This is a really, really good cake flour. And it's like the gold standard for a white cake. It's very fine. The protein content is like 6 to 8%, which means you don't stand a great chance, or the chance is very minimal of activating gluten because the protein level is very low. So that's why I chose this one. Sifting is very, very important. I'm just going to pull this out. This cake flour is very fine. Before you even get it in your package at home, it's been milled and sifted about 27 times. Cake flour is very fine, and it's very prone to drawing moisture in your cupboard, especially if your home is damp, and so it can clump. So you always want to sift. Don't skip this step. So you need 2.5 cups of flour, or 315 grams, and this is bleached as well. So I'm just going to start the sifting process. It takes a little bit. You can see there's a ton of lumps in there. And this has been sifted so many times in the factory, so good reason. See these great big clumps? Good reason to sift. If you are using a measuring cup and a spoon to measure, sift it onto a piece of parchment paper or into a bowl, and then spoon your flour out. Gently put it in your measuring cup and then level it with a knife. One of the main reasons baked goods turn out too dense, too dry, tough is a hard word to say right now, or gummy is because of too much flour. So sifting and then measuring properly is a very, very important step. I'm working toward that 315 grams right now. I'm using bleached flour because the process that the flour goes through allows the flour to absorb more liquid and fat than regular flour, which creates a velvety texture. Now we're measuring out 1 3/4 cup of granulated sugar. That's 350 grams. And yes, we are sifting it because we're wanting this to be really fine. And I know at the end of my sifting, there will be lumps and chunks and all kinds of odd little things in here. And I want only the finest of the granulated sugar to go into my cake. This is why I sift my flour. We have this nice, fine, homogeneous texture under here, and look what's left in the sifter. This won't even go through the sifter. There's little chunks and unidentifiable little, not even sure what that is, but all of this won't even go through the sieve. We don't want that in our fine, velvety cake mixture. Okay, so this is our dry ingredients. We have our flour here that we sifted. We have our beautiful sugar that we sifted. I'm going to just pour that in there. I have 1 tablespoon of baking powder. That's 12 grams. This is our leavener. This is what's going to give us our lift and our rise. Put that in. And then I have 1 teaspoon of fine sea salt. That's 6 grams. And if you can see how fine this is, that's what we're looking for, really fine. Once again, all of our ingredients are just smooth and fine. That's what lends itself to that beautiful velvety texture. 1 teaspoon of fine sea salt or table salt if you don't have sea salt, 6 grams. Give that a really good whisk. I'm going to make sure the salt, the leavener, the sugar, everything is all evenly combined, and then we're ready to mix. Now it's time to prepare our pans. I have 2 8-inch pans here. You can also use 3 6-inch if you prefer. And I am lightly buttering them. Butter the bottom and the sides. You can use butter or oil. I'm also using parchment paper discs. So I'm just putting that right down on the bottom after I butter. This makes the easiest release. The last time I did this, the cakes like fell out of the pan, which is really nice. Lightly grease the top of it as well, just very lightly. And then butter the sides using up strokes with your brush. That encourages the batter to rise up. If you swirl sideways, it has to work against that a little bit. It's just a little baker's tip. So use up strokes. I would skip the flour. The flour just creates a dry skin on the cake, and this way allows the batter to just very easily rise up the pan, and it will release very easily as long as you're buttering it or oiling it. If you have light colored pans, that is the gold standard for a white cake. Light colored pans reflect the heat rather than absorbing it, so it keeps the cake from getting really dark on the outside and the edges setting before the inside has a chance to come up to temperature. That's what creates that dome sometimes. So if you have light colored pans, they are the best. Once you're certain that your ingredients are at room temperature, mainly these little guys, turn your oven on to 325. That's 160 degrees Celsius. So it's time to have some fun. If you're hand mixing, obviously you'll need a larger bowl than this. Give your dry ingredients another good whisk. I'm using a stand mixer. Pour your dry ingredients right into the bowl of your stand mixer, if that's what you're using. Fit it with a paddle attachment. And give that a 30-second whisk. Now we're beginning the reverse creaming method. I'm kind of excited. This is fun. We'll be adding our cubed butter into the dry mixture. So I'm just going to plunk this stuff in. Again, you want to make sure before you do this that your butter is at room temperature, that it's soft. Otherwise, it won't work, it won't incorporate into the flour like it's supposed to. Super important. Okay. The goal of this stage is to cover every granule of flour with fat. So here we go. As you're mixing this, you're looking for just an overall general consistency of wet sand, and there should be no large chunks in there. This process is coating every single little granule with fat, and it's creating a barrier so that when we add the other liquid ingredients, the buttermilk and the eggs, that the gluten can't form because it's coated with a barrier. I want to show you what this texture should look like. It's a really fine, but it feels like sand. It just feels like a wet sand. It's really nice. It is very homogeneous. It's all really combined nicely in there. Now we're going to add our oil into our nice little sandy mixture here. Turn the mixer to low. That's 1 on my KitchenAid. Just slowly add it in. I'm just going to put it on the side here and just let it slowly trickle in. The oil provides just enough moisture to make those little sandy particles stick together in small clumps. That is a good sign that the flour is fully waterproofed. It's super cool. When you see the clumps forming, stop mixing. I think we're about there. So you can see clumps formed. Isn't that cool? So with our flour coated in fat, it can't easily absorb the liquids that we're about to add, the buttermilk, and there's water in the eggs. So we have a really good scenario here for the gluten not to be activated. So now we're going to put our mixer on low speed and we're going to add half of the buttermilk. So I'm going to do that now. I have it on 1, that's low. I'm adding half of the buttermilk. Half, and I'm setting a timer for 90 seconds, and I'm going to turn this up to medium speed. That's 4 on my KitchenAid. This is the only time we build structure. This is adding some air into the mixture, but we're safely doing it because the gluten is more than likely not going to be activated in this little bit of time that we're doing this. Okay, so now we have a beautiful, light, fluffy, aerated batter. It's time to scrape the bowl down. If you are baking along with me, I want to say hang in there. You're doing a great job, and we're almost done. Sometimes in the bottom of the bowl, you find things that just did not get mixed at all, so this is a really important step. Okay, I'm going to put this back on. Now we're going to add the other half of the buttermilk in. If you're wondering why we only did half, if we added this whole amount of buttermilk into this bowl at the same time, the mixture would have been soupy, and we wanted the mixture to be thicker and actually whip more like a paste and grab that air so we have the nice little air pockets. And with all of it in there, it would have been too soupy. So now we will incorporate the rest. While it is mixing, I'm going to give the egg whites a little bit of a mix. Basically what I'm doing is just breaking them up. Once you see a little bit of foaminess in there, they are ready. Just pour those directly in. And once you see that batter becoming smooth, stop, you are done. I'm getting smells of vanilla wafting up. Smells amazing. Okay. This is done. So give the bowl one last scrape down. Evenly divide the batter between your 2 or 3 pans if you're using 6-inch. I have my scale out again because I like to measure the batter just to get a pretty good idea that they both have close to the same amount in them. So I'm going to give this a go. I ended up with 858 grams in each pan. I'm just giving it a jiggle to remove any large air bubbles if there are any, and kind of just level it out a bit. I will smooth it some with an offset spatula. And now it's time to put these in the oven. These cakes should bake anywhere from 35 to 45 minutes. If you know your oven, you have a pretty good idea what that'll be. Mine, the last time, took 40 minutes, so I did set my timer for 35 minutes, and I will check then. Just be careful checking too much. Every time you open your oven door, you lose 20 to 25 degrees, and your cake's struggling to maintain that heat that it's baking in. So I'm checking mine at 35 minutes. A toothpick inserted in the center should come out just with some moist crumbs. And if it's a tiny bit soft on the inside, that's okay. They continue baking when we take them out of the oven. They'll sit on the counter in the hot pans for another 10 minutes before we invert them. So I'll see you back here in a little bit. So remember I said it was really cold in my kitchen and it's cold outside. I'm in Pennsylvania. Well, we are piling up with snow. We're up to 15 inches of snow right now, and it's still going. Done. These cakes need to just rest for 10 minutes in these very hot pans, and then we will just loosen them a little bit, invert them onto the cooling racks. They need to cool before we can do anything with them. They smell amazing. I can't wait. After your cakes have cooled for 10 minutes, take some kind of a smooth, flat, I'm using a offset spatula, knife, something, just go around the outer edges just to make sure nothing's sticking anywhere. And then I'm going to flip this out onto our cooling rack. Come on. See how that just falls out of there? It's awesome. And this one too. The parchment paper came right off in the pan, so if your parchment paper stays on your cakes, peel it off. You don't want to cool it with the parchment paper on. The cakes are cool. They are ready to go. They need a little something something. You can frost these with anything you would like, and quite honestly, this is yummy just plain. However, I made a batch of one of my favorite frostings, classic American buttercream. It's smooth, it's creamy, it's sweet, it's amazing. So I'll walk you through quickly what I did. The recipe and the tutorial is in the link below. Start by creaming 1 cup of soft, good quality butter. Then you'll be adding 4 cups of sifted powdered sugar. You'll do it 1 cup at a time. You'll be whipping this anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. You're trying to dissolve all the sugar crystals. You want it to be really smooth and not grainy. It's flavored with a high quality vanilla and salt for balance. You'll add heavy cream for a desired consistency, and you will have an amazing bowl of buttercream icing. So let's get these frosted. This is simple and elegant. You just followed a scientifically sound recipe for a soft, velvety, scratch white cake. And this is the foundation for amazing things. I made this cake for my mom's birthday. I made lavender colored icing. I put lemon curd in it, raspberry coulis. I put some flowers on the top. It was amazing. I had so many compliments, which I will do on this channel at some point. But I wanted you to just see this is the foundation. This is an amazing white cake. So now it's time to cut a piece and have a bite. I am so excited with this piece of cake. The reverse creaming method, that's where it's at. That gave us the most amazing texture. This is so soft and tender. Now I'm gonna try a bite. Oh my goodness, this is amazing, just amazing. Yum, look at how soft it is. Yum. This is the best white cake I think I've ever had, and that buttercream complements it just amazingly. The vanilla flavor just really pops in both of these things. This is a win. You have to try it. So in my humble opinion, this is the gold standard for white cakes. And if you make this, you will never buy a box mix again. This was super fun. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make this white cake from scratch. Check out my cake playlist. I look forward to baking with you in the next video.